Hey, everybody. Wow, we are back. This has been the craziest situation. We have never, ever had problems like this. You can bet your bottom dollar that I will be calling them right away as soon as we finish this. And I just can't believe it, man. This is the first time it's happened. Can we hear everybody? Is everybody hearing it? You guys can hear me?
I'm hearing you fine.
All right, I hear Matt. I hear Blake. All right, awesome.
You don't look like a robot. You don't look like a robot, so
I don't. Look. Ian's on the. Hey, there he is. So what's Ian saying? Ian, what's Ian saying?
Please don't say anything. Something's not happening.
Yeah. All right, let's see. I'm gonna see if I can pull this up.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up on mine too, just to make sure.
Man. All right, well,
tell you what.
So, guys, while he's pulling it up, we're just going to go ahead and go into this. So, I think we're just going to go ahead and assume that you guys didn't hear anything from the previous attempt. So, I'm going to go ahead and start with the fact that we are bringing on Mr. Matthew Eubanks, a registered nurse who's freshly out of college. He actually graduated in May. He's been working since June, and so he's been a nurse, paid nurse, for 3 weeks now. So the NCLEX is fresh on his mind, and he's going to bring some knowledge. He's going to drop some knowledge bombs on the whole NCLEX situation. He's got a lot of value to add. He's got a lot of tips and tricks. He's going to just break it down for us all. Before we go into that, we're going to go over to Blake. He's going to give us some quick updates, and then we'll get into it. Blake, go for it.
Sorry, I don't have all the cool agenda items things that you put in, so I'm just going to run down the gauntlet here, okay?
Go for it, man.
So this is the week, everyone. If you have, it's the last week for best schools, best workplace. We extended that deadline. I just want to quickly mention, if you were trying to finalize that application, please get it turned in by the end of the week. We greatly appreciate it. We want to be able to respond and provide those recipients enough time to get there to the conference. Same way with the individual awards for Luther Chrisman, the Lee Cohen, and the Gene Trellenberger awards. We do have some nominations and applicants for that, so that's awesome. The one that I do not know, unless some have been turned in at the very end of the week, is the Emerging Leader Award. I know there's someone out there other than us who are not eligible, who are doing great things around our communities as well as for AAMN. So please take that time, fill it out. We really want to commend those who have just entered the profession to be recognized for the great work that they're doing, because we know that they're doing it. So, and the last and third thing that I want to announce is that if you have not answered our poll on the announcements in our member group page, please do so. And it's just giving us a snapshot into where we're at in the process of what people are thinking to attend the conference. We hope that you're there. And we know a lot of you are planning on attending, but just coming back to school, just getting your feet underneath you, and a lot of institutions may be paying for you to go. So we understand that it kind of looks last minute when you sign up. So that's all great, but if you can, there's an option there for that particular instance, so that we can see that those that are potentially planning on attending, but we have not captured them on our registration list. So that's all I've got. I want to spend most time talking with Matthew here. So.
All right. And I have one announcement. We, as you guys all know, that we have each year we have 3 board member elections. And so I wanted to announce my candidacy for the board. I feel it's like deja vu, right?
I know, you just did this like 10 minutes ago.
Just did this.
No one heard it.
Nobody heard it. I'm not gonna go into the amazing speech that I gave earlier. I'm just gonna, you guys missed out. It was amazing though.
Yeah, it was the best thing I ever heard.
But it's really been a pleasure to really host this podcast, and to be a part of the communications team, and of course be a part of the Southern Region team. So I really am enjoying that, but I really would love to take it to the next level. And if I get an opportunity to be on the board, I just really look forward to being a part of some big things. I know of some big things that are coming, and man, it is so exciting. And so to just be able to help out at that level, it's just going to be, it would be really, really a privilege, an honor and privilege. So if you guys see my name anywhere on any of those candidacy forms in your emails, just go ahead and give me a click like right there. Okay. I'd appreciate it. And anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on the man, Mr. Matthew Eubanks. Sir, you have the stage. How are you doing tonight?
Doing really good. Doing really good.
Well, I sure do appreciate you, man, hanging in with us. I know that you got off at 5:30 p.m.
Yes.
Rushed home just to be on the podcast.
It's a hurry up and wait. He knows that very well from his previous career. It's a hurry up and
Absolutely. Very used to that in the military.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into it.
My journey with nursing began with the MedVet to BSN program over at University of Kentucky. It's kind of a special program. It takes military medics that have been deployed like myself, and it allows us to get a little bit of extra credit for the things that we did, and then fast tracks us through a career in nursing or through school in nursing. So we come out the other side as BSN prepared nurses within 2 years.
Wow, man, right on.
It is.
Well, you guys got a lot of experience.
Yeah, it's a very fast-paced program. It's very hard. It's kind of like going to the NCLEX day.
Well, it sounds very similar to like an accelerated, some sort of hybrid accelerated program that's kind of tailored to a specific demographic of people. Is
Yes.
what it sounds like to me. So
Yes.
yeah, kudos to you. I feel your pain. I've been there. Went through the same accelerated program.
Yeah.
So definitely know how that feels.
Man, I didn't go through accelerated program. My hair, I was wearing gray hairs.
I know.
I don't have hair.
Hey, it knocked your hair out. Yeah, dang. So, I can't imagine what an accelerated program was like. But so when did you take your NCLEX?
So NCLEX was taken in June, and it was very soon right after graduation. We did a prep course. For me, it was Kaplan. Prior to that, our school also had us doing HESIs and also PassPoint. So lots of really, really good tried and tested modalities for your NCLEX-based questions, and a lot of questions. I can probably tell you I've done about 10,000, 12,000 questions easily through the whole time that I was in my career with through school, just to be able to be ready for NCLEX.
Do you feel like that helped? Just hitting question after question after question.
I will tell you, it got to a point of where you hated it, but you understood why it was happening. So all of our questions on our exams were NCLEX based. If that's not what your college is doing, that's fine. It's just you need to be able to convert to that NCLEX thinking at some point during your career. Mm-hmm. So having something as a prep course, it doesn't matter if it's Kaplan, PassPoint, HESI, if it's any of these others that are out there. The best thing I can tell people is have a plan walking into the NCLEX. So you need to be able to break down questions. You need to know what NCLEX is actually asking you. And furthermore, you need to know why they're asking you the question in the way that they are. So your nursing knowledge is going to come from your college, from where you take your semesters of nursing school. But how to pass the NCLEX really is going to kind of come during your prep time.
Ah, right. Right, I see.
Did you wake up like in the middle of the night answering that many questions and like wake up out of a nightmare and be like, oxygen administration?
Yes,
like, it's an assessment.
Like, it's on your mind, right?
And there's just so many different ways of breaking down those questions. There's people tell you always try to rewrite them, look at the stem, try to really find out what is NCLEX trying to ask you to answer. And when it comes down to about 9 out of 10 questions, they all come down to safety. Are you safe to practice? And then if you're looking at delegation, is it your task to delegate? Is it proper to delegate it to the person you're delegating it to? Or are you acting outside of your practice and taking things away from a physician or from someone else? So it's really, the construct is, do you know how to operate as a nurse safely?
Yep. That's exactly.
Good.
That's a great breakdown. I haven't heard anybody break it down that way, but that is so true. It's minimal competency, right? So they want to make sure that you are safely practicing, and we get all of this knowledge throughout our nursing program, and there's no way that you could regurgitate all of that knowledge.
There's no way.
And so it's really based about, yes, you need to know that a very, I wouldn't say high level, I would say almost medium level. It's that middle layer that to be able to understand if you are out of your scope or you're in your scope or you're practicing safely, you need to know that content, but you don't need to. I would say, yes, there was some drugs on there. Yes, there were, but in my my personal experience, they were drugs that were pretty straightforward. Or if it was a drug that was kind of out of left field, it was pretty blatant. And it's like, and it's not even asking about what the drug is. It's asking about something else. But they wanted to try to throw you off by introducing this medication that you're like, what is that medication? But it's really, that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for that safety piece. And so I'm so glad that you said that.
Yeah. And if you're looking for NCLEX to ask you on NCLEX Day, what is red man syndrome? Which drug are we worried about? It's not going to be there. It's not going to be that easy. They're going to set up scenarios and things that you have to use critical thinking. So when you look at those questions and you're breaking them down, you need to know what they're asking you to do, and then have a way to go through each answer that you're looking at and make sure it matches, especially if we're talking about select all that apply, which all of us hate. So those select all that apply, you have to treat each answer as if it's an independent answer. So if this was the one thing that you would do and walk away, yes, include it. If the next one you go down to is the only thing you would do and walk away, include it. If it's something that we might do this, we might think about it, it's probably not one of the select all that apply that you need to place into your queue for that. So that's my little tidbit on the select all that apply.
That was really good. Right on.
So my interest in what you on your insight, Matthew, on top of those great tips, is that the 24 hours before of prepping yourself, not so much about studying, but how did you prepare and how did it relate to what you did in the past, like in your normal routine? Was it completely different? Was it the same and slightly adjusted? How did that look so people can prep that last 24 hours? Well,
so the 24 hours before you take your exam, you shouldn't answer one single nursing question. You shouldn't look over one single diagram. You shouldn't do anything that's concerned with nursing. Go have fun. Go watch a movie. Go relax. Get a very, very good night's sleep. Because I promise you, if you start going over material, you are going to be that person that is up till 3 a.m. You might oversleep. You might miss your exam. But if you show up, you're going to be tired. You're exhausted. Your brain's already been taxed. It's not the time to cram in content. This should come way before you're ready to test. So if you're not ready to test, and I think if I'm correct, NCLEX gives you up to, is it 36 hours to cancel and reschedule?
I can't. I don't want to say it definitively because I don't know the current answer because I took it 6 years ago. Okay. But I know that there was a buffer time where you could. So if something were to come up that you wouldn't get hit with not showing up and then having to wait that 180 days. And we
had people that went with us that were in our class group that graduated with us, and they got to that day or two before testing and they said, I'm just not ready yet. So they delayed it and they went ahead and kept on with their prep. So here's what I will tell you is the 48 hours, the 72 hours, the week before, you should be doing lots of test questions. You should be averaging about 75 a day. You should at least take one 265 exam just so you know what it feels like to go through 265 NCLEX questions in one setting.
You're preaching to the choir here,
Yep.
because both Mike and I were chosen as the sacrificial lambs, and were made to do all 265, and the last 40 were select all applied for me. It was horrible.
And I will tell you, if for whatever reason you get to 265, when you're on 264, this comes from someone who passed. They said, I sat on 264. I looked at the time clock. I had plenty of time. I made sure that that question was answered correctly. And they passed. Because as simple as it gets, as long as you're still getting questions, you're still in the fight. You are still able to pass the NCLEX. If you are at 264, that next question, you get it right, you passed. You get it wrong, you wasted a lot of time and you failed.
Exactly. I never thought about that.
I think that's what happened with me. I think that's what happened to me. I think I got the 265 right. I got, you know.
I'll say, Eden,
I don't think they were trying anything on me. I think I just did just horribly. Until the very end.
Well, for me, I don't think it's like when 40 straight questions are select all apply. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because I'm like, "Oh, I'm doing good." You know, there's a lot of questions here, but I've gotten to the select all applies. Like, and I keep getting them. I can't be doing horrible, because they wouldn't be giving them to me if I back to back if I was doing horribly. But then it just kept going and going. And I was like, it almost was to the point where I couldn't handle it anymore. And I was like, but boom, it was done. And I totally agree with it's like training for, I wouldn't say marathon, because not many of us go and run marathons, but it's like training for game day. You know, for us athletes out there, or even those who may be musicians, you know, when you're going to be playing a long symphony, you know, I've done that as well. It's a marathon, and you got to prepare yourself mentally and physically. Even though you're sitting in a chair, you're still you have to mentally build that endurance up to be able to take those questions seriously, so you don't tire yourself out. I wanted to see what you thought about this, Matthew. Ian said that he visited the testing site a few days before the date, just so that he knew the distance and kind of how long it took there to get there. And I think that's great, because it kind of
it's a very good idea, because traffic is different. All kinds of different things happen. If you're taking your test in a different city, so we had other people that were traveling 50, 120 miles to go take their test instead of taking it right here. So those people made sure the day before they knew exactly where they were going. They also showed up at least an hour early. So those of you that kind of sit around in a testing environment and you're very nervous, go get something, go sit in your car and relax, and then go into the test center. But make sure you're right outside of it so that you don't get caught in traffic, so you don't miss your appointment.
Yeah, I mean, I would even say, because in Omaha, you know, you're usually in a strip mall is where the testing center is, and so there's a Target right across the street. You know, I got there a little early, but not early enough. I was like, if I did, though, even sit in my car, I have test anxiety. I'll be completely transparent to everybody. You know, I am one of those individuals where we do this oral exam where we're in a conversation outside a patient's room. I can give you the best S-bar and tell you exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing and all that stuff. And then you get me into the testing. When I first started nursing school, I almost bombed the first few tests, and I was so frustrated because I knew the material. And even the professors, they were like, "Hey, I know this material because we have these conversations all the time. We do these case studies, and you're the ones you're one of the individuals that provide all the answers. So I know you know your stuff." So I had to really learn how to take nursing tests. But I think a lot of nursing schools nowadays do a really good job of tailoring their tests throughout nursing school to make it very similar, or as similar as it can, to the test. And I think that's a good thing. You know, I don't think you should teach to the test, and I don't think they do that, but they set you up on how to answer those questions. So I think that's great. So my other question to you is, so when you got done with your test, what was the first thing you did?
I probably scared the bejesus out of the proctor. I got my experience. Now, this is something I will tell you, and I don't think NCLEX cares if I say this. There is a timer, and there is a counter on your number of questions. Someone recommended to me, when you get into the test center, the first thing you do when you sit down and you start your test, turn those off. Because you have 6 hours. If you've trained well, however many questions you're going to get, you're going to have enough time. Don't worry about the time as much, okay? You need to slow down, make sure that you get those. Optimally, you really want to get those first 75 questions really well done and be out in 75. So I happened to turn my counter back on twice. Once it was at 35, the other it was at 74. At question 74, I spent probably about 5-10 minutes on it and clicked next. I spent 5 or 10 minutes more on 75 and it shut off. I jumped out of my seat. I screamed like I've never screamed before with both hands up in the air. And the proctor had a heart attack, and I almost had to become a nurse right then and there to treat her.
So at least you knew you were competent, right?
Yeah, like, exactly. She was like, "You passed. I know what you're doing. Go ahead, do CPR." But all I can say is, when you're going through questions, and I was like you, I had huge test anxiety. I actually had to take medication for anxiety while I was testing. And it's just one of those things. If that's how you are, again, address that before you start hitting your exams. Address that way before you get to NCLEX, because it's amazing to see how many people get there and they say, it was like an iron weight was weighing on me. I had 2.5, 4 years of my life invested, and I got, all these questions, and then I just blew it because I freaked out, and I just couldn't handle the testing environment. And so that's where you need to go back if you did fail, or if you're looking at coming up on taking the NCLEX, you need to take questions up to 265 so you know what it feels like. You need to be able to sit down in that testing environment and go through 75 questions and take your time. And when that counter, when you pull it back up, and let's say you're past 75, you're on question 76, you're on question 80, and you're feeling really despaired, take a second, raise your hand, tell your proctor you want to go take a break. Go take a nice, good, healthy break, scream, hit the wall, get something to drink, get a nice little bite of something to eat, whatever it is that helps you whenever you have a horrible test day. And what you need to do is get your head wrapped around the fact that I'm getting ready to go back in and do 75 more questions. I'm taking another NCLEX, and I'm going to kill it this time. And just go in there and hit another 75 questions. And if you're another 75 in and you're not done yet, raise your hand, go take a break, and get back into the fight. Because if you sit there in that room and you go, I'm in question 48 and I'm not even understanding why I'm getting all these lower level questions and I'm just not looking like I'm passing, you're going to blow it.
Yeah,
but
stop thinking. You don't want to don't even bring that in your mind, because it's probably not even true. And so it's like don't even use it as an option.
And I had a friend of mine that I talked to him about this, and he got on about 120 something questions. He was really despaired. He went outside, took a break. He came back in. He did 18 more questions, and it shut off.
Yep.
And he was like, I really concentrated on those 18 questions. I know I got more than 75% of them right. I know I did. And I was like, well, then you passed.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do on test day is you got to get in there and you have to be very positive. Because if you start going negative, it's time to go take a break.
Exactly. And so Tim Bristol, who's on the board, and he actually Nurse Tim, he does a huge series and goes around speaking about NCLEX, and he's going to kind of be the finale of this Road to NCLEX series that we're doing. Tim, if you have any questions that you want to ask Matt to get some insight on what the NCLEX from someone who's has taken the NCLEX very recently to help you out as well, or if you have any leading questions, please feel free to type them in. Manny came on here and he said Kaplan's the best.
Yeah.
He did the classroom and the online questions, and I will tell you again. I said this in the last episode. I did a little different. I mean, I took ATI all the way through our program,
That's
and
another
it
one.
was it. I always tell people being in the accelerated program, I didn't have time to lose my knowledge because we were moving so quick. It's like I didn't have to think back 4 years to some of the content because we were just moving so fast. And so I answered about 50 questions a day. I used it even on an app. I bought an app. So even if I wasn't sitting at home, I would answer them at like maybe 3 or 4 questions at a time throughout the day to try to, because the biggest thing I told myself is I wanted my mind fresh. When I sat down for long periods of time, and you just answer endless amounts of questions, that's not serving any purpose for you. You know, you need to get your mind the reps into thinking the way it needs to be thought. You know, the thought process. It's not so much about I got to get this many in. I got to get this many in. If you throughout your day just keep answering questions, if your time allows you to do so, because I know everybody works and does all, you know, we each have our own time frames, but I found that really helped. And then I just concentrated on the material that I knew I struggled in during school. I didn't concentrate on the tests. I did, you know, on the material I did well in my classes. You know, I did a quick outline review, you know, like, oh yeah, I remember that. I didn't sit there and study it. But I knew that labor and delivery was that one. And I was like, I'm going to bomb any of these questions if I don't go back and look at this.
And that's a fantastic point you make. If you have something that you have already mastered or something that you're very good in, we all love to answer those questions and go, wow, look how smart I am. Stop doing that. Go to the stuff that you don't have any earthly idea about, and those things that are really hard concepts that you still haven't mastered. That's where you spend your time. And then also look at the test breakdown. NCLEX does give on their site, I can't remember for the life of me what the name of it is, but it's actually the breakdown of the exam. So they tell you so many percentage of your questions are going to be within safety. So many of them are going to be within this other area. And so start with the area that has the largest percentage. If you've mastered it, move on to the next one. Mm-hmm. If you haven't, then try to get some of those questions that you are not having a great time with within that same percentage that you're also not having a good enough time with.
Exactly. My last question as we wrap this up, because we're approaching about 30 minutes, and I'm so grateful for you taking time out today, Matthew.
No problem.
I think we need to have you on again for some other topics, because this is a fun. I can tell you enjoy it as much as Mike and I enjoy it being on here. But so how did you go about knowing that you passed, like the confirm? You know, everybody has their little tips and tricks on, oh, I did this and I found out before I got my letter and everything. I'm curious how you found out.
Well, I actually just waited. And as simple as it gets, everybody has their tips and tricks and things that they say work or they worry about it. And guess what? This is not your time to worry about it. You either passed or you didn't. That letter is going to come and you're going to see I passed or you didn't. Nothing's going to change. You're still going to have to wait if you didn't. And little secret on this, for some people, if you're working as a nurse As soon as you have knowledge that you did not pass, you got to stop working.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't matter if you got it by some other wonky means or you got it by official means. You got to stop working. So that's kind of a little shady, but I'm going to say just wait. And because nothing's going to change, go do something fun. Go celebrate like you did pass. And if you didn't, you're going to be in a better spot to reset everything, to reevaluate, and to go through and figure out what you need to hone for your second pass.
Yeah. My thing is that it's not, I know it's not something that anybody wants to go through. And I know, but I know PhDs that are incredibly influential in the nursing profession who didn't pass the first time. Oh. It doesn't mean that you aren't able to be the great nurse that we all know you are. And I always tell all of my preceptees and I love doing it. So I had a ton of them. And I was told them that if you graduated, if you went through all those tests and you prepared yourself and you got yourself in the right mind, you don't have to worry about anything, because what I'm seeing you execute right now and all of the competencies and everything that you've learned, you're ready.
Yeah.
Don't get in your head. And if it doesn't happen that first time, it's not the end of the world. It's, to me, yes, it may make your life a little harder. You know, you may have had that job lined up for you and then the timing doesn't work out. But I'll tell you, if they like your character, they like you as an individual, and that's what they're hiring, because they're looking for culture. They're looking how you fit in their unit, and they know that you can go take it again. It may not be that specific job, but they will try to find you one.
Yeah.
So don't think that you're not going to have a nursing job ever just because you didn't pass the first time.
Yeah. And a lot of units, if that does happen, they're going to go ahead and offer you a tech position, let you stay on board, and let you work on the unit that you're going to become a nurse on. Mm-hmm. And they really look and say, look, you've gone through 2.5, 4 years to get to this point. 6 hours does not determine how good you are or how bad you are. It just shows you have a level of competence you're ready for or you're not ready for yet. And as simple as that goes, if you did not pass, then you need to just go back and reevaluate things. The unit, if you stay and you work for them, work like crazy. Be one of the best employees there, because they're really going to want to champion you and push you to study harder. You'll have people that even ask you, hey, can I brush you up on some things? Do you need other resources? Can I throw things at you? I've got some old books, other tips and tricks. If you're not, for me, I had a harder time going through nursing school just because I did not want to live in the ivory tower NCLEX. So that's my other interesting tip that I have to everybody, is that NCLEX is the perfect world. If I need a pair of hemostats, they're right here. If I need a thing of tape, hey, look, tape just showed up. If I need a tourniquet, voila, there's a tourniquet. It's instantaneously there. If you need time to sit with a patient, it doesn't matter that you have 5 other patients in the stem. You always have time. Mm-hmm. If it tells you you need to do something that's safety oriented, always pick safety first. If it's something as far as pain goes, in nursing school, we get caught up on pain as the 5th, vital sign, and this is kind of going away now, and there's all this academia about it. When it comes to NCLEX, there's only specific pains you must address right now. There's other pains. It's psychosocial. That's one of the last things you're going to ever address. And that seems really counterintuitive to a lot of what we grew up hearing in nursing school. This is why the prep courses really do help, because they kind of take that whole concept of safety and then they match it to what the NCLEX is testing against, all those percentages that they want you to test around. There's about, I think it's 6 to 8 different parameters, and it's broken down into percentages of how much of the NCLEX it makes up. And once you've passed that many level of questions on that topic, you'll never see that topic again. You're done with that topic. It moves on to something else. And the last thing I'll tell you is, like, so I took Kaplan, and Kaplan is specifically designed where when you take their exams, if you're making a 65%, you're going to pass the NCLEX. And it drove our class nuts because we had those uber, really, alpha kind of people who were like, I never can get 100% on these. Yeah, absolutely. So they lost their minds going, I could only get a 65. And I'm like, you just passed NCLEX. If you did the same thing on NCLEX, you pass. And that's where when you get into the testing, sit back, relax, take your time, and just go through questions. Don't drive yourself nuts. If there's a question that really is just, pardon me for this, pissing you off, click on it and get off of it and move on to the next question. Because once you've submitted that question, it's gone. You can't fix it. You can't go back and change answers. It's gone. So if you have an epiphany 3 questions later that you missed something, and it's gone, don't dwell on it.
Yeah, that's why there's 265 of them.
Absolutely.
So everybody's just totally is like, I passed in 75. I passed in 75. I was like, did that make I mean, that's great. Don't get me wrong. That's awesome. But does that make someone a better nurse than someone shuts it at 100? No. What makes you a great nurse is how you execute your practice on the unit or in the community. It's not how well you took your test. So it's just like any profession. The knowledge and the competency is your foundation.
Yes.
But you got to have the capacity to be able to execute it. That's a whole different thing.
And I can tell you,
through clinical.
From finishing nursing school, finishing NCLEX, and having that weight lifted, then I went to orientation and they said, here's about 20 more books. And we're going to need you to learn all that stuff because they didn't teach you that in nursing school. I work as a PACU nurse, so there's a lot of stuff I'm learning as we go.
Yeah, let's talk about policy now. No, I'm kidding. Well, thank you again, Matt. I greatly appreciate it. It looks like people are coming in at the end here. I'm so glad everybody's joining. If you missed out on the first part, please go back and listen. It was a great talking with you, Matt, and we're going to get a perspective next week from another individual, Christopher Bristol, on he just took the test at about the same time frame. So it's great to get your guys' perspective. When we're on this, there's not the golden rule, and so we want to get as many people on here to talk about their experiences, their tips, so that you can take all of our thoughts and all the things that you're learning in your prep classes and books and make something that feels right to you. That's what this is about. This is not about going out and following my advice to the T or following Matthew's to a T, or even Dr. Tim Bristol's, who is one of the leading experts in this area in NCLEX Prep. That's not what this is about. It's about taking our experiences so it sets you up for success. So thanks for everybody listening tonight. Please turn your stuff in for awards. I'm going to keep plugging it. You're going to just go crazy for me doing that, but I'm going to do it anyway. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, Matt. We're going to have you on here soon again. All right.
All right.
See you, everyone.
See you.